Hello, everyone. Today we're going to dive deep into the concept of total silence, often referred to as the no contact rule. We will explore this as a powerful instrument for the inversion of dominance, a strategy that can be effectively applied both during a relationship and, more commonly, in the aftermath of a breakup to resuscitate attraction. I want to address the many questions that men frequently ask during our live sessions, and this video will serve as a comprehensive reference point for those common concerns. It would be easy for me to simply say, watch the video and your questions will disappear, but I understand that the questions are often born out of fear. Men feel a deep anxiety and a need to clarify every specific detail because they are terrified of making a mistake. A very common fear is the idea that she is too principled or stubborn, and therefore she will never reach out first, meaning the silence will last forever. Let's put everything in order. One of the most frequent questions is about the duration. How long can the silence last? Is it possible for a woman to reach out after a year? The truth is, this strategy does not have a fixed expiration date. However, to give you a statistical baseline to work from, we must look at the nature of the breakup. If we're talking about a scenario where the woman left you, where she dumped you and completely lost interest, the period of silence cannot last for less than 2 months. If she cracks and reaches out within 2 months in your specific case, consider that to be extremely fast. The problem is that many men sit around waiting, or they break down after just 1 or 2 weeks. They then complain, saying, "It didn't work, she doesn't care." But the reality is that it could not possibly have worked in that time frame. It is technically impossible. I often see a fatal error discussed in chats and online forums where men try to create a mixed approach. They think, I will ignore her for a little bit, and then I will initiate contact myself. My friend, if you do this, you're committing a critical mistake. Your couple of weeks of silence will achieve absolutely nothing. All you accomplish is giving her a chance to breathe and relax. She will simply think, thank God he finally calmed down. Or if you actually manage to touch a nerve and make her angry, and then you capitulate by writing first, you're walking right into a trap. You will get hit with all that negativity, and quite frankly, you deserve it for breaking your frame. Therefore, the rule is absolute. If you decide to enter into silence, you must maintain it until its logical conclusion. There is no halfway. While there have been extremely rare exceptions during individual coaching where we planned a specific move, those were under very strict conditions, and certainly not before 4 months had passed. Do not confuse yourself with exceptions. The general rule is simple. Once we enter, we do not exit. Period. You will often find articles or videos claiming that the no contact rule is prehistoric or ineffective, suggesting that you need to be proactive. They tell you to take active measures and not just sit there. But what exactly do they propose you change? Usually, they promise to help you build a new image, to turn you into a Superman instead of a needy pleader. And they claim you can do this in 21 days. That is laughable. We always have a specific goal during this process. If you maintain any contact with a woman, it is nearly impossible to lower her significance in your eyes. It is infinitely harder to detach when you're still seeing her or messaging her compared to when you completely cut off contact. Total silence has many advantages, and detachment is one of the biggest. You must understand the dynamics of value. When you first met, perhaps she looked up to you. But over time, due to crises, work problems, or you simply becoming too accommodating, the balance shifted. Perhaps you went back to an ex, or just lost respect. The bottom line is that by the time she leaves, she is in a strong position and you're in the weak one. Our goal is not just to use a cheap manipulation trick. Men often fantasize, I will make her jealous, show her how cool I am, and she will come running. That is childish thinking. We need fundamental changes because you ended up in the weak position for a reason. The situation is more complex than it appears. The minimum objective is for you to genuinely occupy the strong position. This means your value must rise, and her significance to you must decrease. Only then can a reunion happen on healthy terms. That is a full result. When you follow bad advice to fake it or act like an alpha after 20 days, what are you really doing? You are pretending. You're trying to be friends while secretly hoping for more. Do you actually believe in the act you are putting on? Because what we do here must be real. I am sharing this from my own personal experience. I dislike when people give advice on things they have never actually practiced. There are many commentators now who speak about no contact but explain it incorrectly because they have never lived it. They watch a few videos and start giving assessments without understanding the essence of the tool. How can they recommend a path they have never walked? I know this path. I have held silence for 11 months, 8 months, 6 months, 2.5 months, and even just half an hour. Yes, within a relationship. Ignoring someone for 30 minutes can work because the fear of loss is still present. But after a breakup, the situation is entirely different. It frustrates me to see people being misled. You watch one video, and they call something ignore, which is actually just playing games. You watch another, and they tell you to mix strategies. Let's get back to the core essence. We do not bluff. We do not pretend. If you do not believe in yourself, do not even start, because you will break and make it worse. This is a tool for men with resolve. We are challenging everything, her decision, the situation, and ourselves. Haven't you ever had that internal desire, that feeling that you are just done with compromising? You already know that begging doesn't work. Haven't you ever thought, to hell with it, I'm not writing to her again? I came to this intuitively when I was 18 years old, long before I knew it was a strategy. Let me repeat the definition clearly. Total silence is non-mutual silence. It means she reaches out via SMS, she provokes you, she sends signals, and you do not answer. This is distinct from a pause, where both parties are just silent because neither cares. If she hasn't written, you are just mutually silent. When I went through my toughest breakup, there was no one on the internet to tell me, just do this and it will be fine. I had to walk that path alone, without assurances, but I reached the result. You could do it too. It will be scary. You will worry about her being principled. But let me tell you, a woman's difficult character or stubbornness does not change the outcome. In fact, difficult women are often more emotional, which actually makes them easier to influence in this specific way. Of course, that doesn't mean you can build a healthy relationship with them easily, but the technique still works. Imagine you are a professional who has done your job for 8 years. A client comes in who has never done it and starts telling you their fears and how they want to do it differently. You would look at them and think, I know what I'm talking about. That is how I feel. I have studied this for 8 years. I'm not trying to inflate my price. I am just saying you can rely on this experience. Consider the alternative. What else can you do? Be active? Fake it? Women feel it. I have seen examples where a man does everything technically correct under supervision, saying the right words, looking the right way, but he still gets rejected. Why? Because he was needy. Conversely, I have seen men make mistakes but still succeed because they genuinely did not care anymore. Women sense that neediness on a biological or energetic level. Your primary task is to kill that neediness within yourself. That is the most important goal, not guessing if a like was a signal. Stop obsessing over whether something is a provocation and focus on destroying your dependency. When you execute total ignore, her interest in you grows, but it grows non-linearly. There are many factors, and we cannot always predict the exact timeline. In my own life, sometimes I could predict it, sometimes I couldn't. I recall one instance that lasted 8 months. I don't know why it took that long, but it did. Another was 2.5 months. Do you really need to know the why? Men worry. What if I overdo it? What if I hold out too long? It is impossible to overhold silence. In 8 years, I have never seen a single case where a man waited too long. I have seen hundreds where he broke silence too early. Without your response, she has no sense of closure. The danger is always in prematurity, not in duration. When the exit happens, it must involve an apology from her, a sincere one. Whether we believe it or not is a different issue, and apologies can sometimes be formal, but you should not exit for anything less. There are many nuances here. I am currently working on a comprehensive video course that will be roughly 3 hours long to explain these intricate mechanisms. Some ask why I don't just put it all on the channel. The reason is that my content gets copied and plagiarized everywhere. If you want the full, deep dive, that product will be available. I would share it freely if the information wasn't constantly being stolen and misused. Regarding the specific signs, is this a ping? Is this a provocation? Let me be clear. There are no accidents in silence. Blocking you, unblocking you, deleting photos, posting sad quotes, viewing your stories, random likes. These are all pings. They are attempts to get a reaction. Since I cannot cover everything in a short video, I have a proposal. Please leave your specific, concrete questions about the no contact rule in the comment section below. I will answer them there because this video is already getting long, and we have barely scratched the surface. Live streams are often too chaotic for detailed answers, so use the comments here. Remember, there is no ideal forecast. The ideal scenario is that she feels guilt and returns without you saying a word, but life is rarely ideal. In most cases, we have to think and adapt. Make sure to subscribe and like the video if you found this helpful. I look forward to reading your questions.